Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something I think, well, a lot of people learning English have felt. That question you might ask yourself. I've studied for ages, so why can't I understand native speakers when they talk?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly common. You put in the hours, you pass the tests, thousands of words.
Right? You can read difficult stuff, maybe even write well. But then you're in a real conversation, maybe someone talks quickly, and you're just lost.
Yeah, completely lost. It's that frustrating gap, isn't it?
Yeah.
You hear sounds, maybe pick out a word here or there, but the whole meaning just doesn't click.
You're left thinking, what's wrong with me? I know this language.
Exactly. And people often blame themselves, thinking they're just bad at English.
But that's not really it, is it? That's what we're digging into today. There's a deeper reason, often overlooked.
Yeah, it boils down to this difference between, let's call it classroom English and, well, real life English.
Classroom English versus real life English. Okay.
Sure. Understanding that difference is honestly the key. It's the secret to unlocking comprehension.
So today, we'll unpack why this happens and, importantly, give you some really practical things you can actually do about it.
Definitely. Because it's less about your ability and more about what you've been trained to listen for.
Right. Like, think about those textbook sentences. They're usually so clear, kind of slow,
Perfectly pronounced. Like, what are you going to do today? Every word is separate.
crystal clear, easy to follow. But then a native speaker walks up and says something like, "What you gonna do today?"
And bam, your brain just short circuits.
Huh. It sounds like gibberish almost, even though technically you know all those words. What are you going to do today?
Precisely. And that's the core of it. Most learning focuses on that clear, separate word, classroom English. But real life English, it's fast.
Yeah, fast.
Words get squished together. Think about how sounds link up. It's full of slang, idioms, things you don't always find in books.
And the rhythm, the intonation, it's different.
Totally different. It's got its own music. So your brain is listening for one pattern, like,
Yeah.
what should you go?
But it hears, "What you gonna dot day?"
Exactly. And that mismatch causes the confusion. It's like you've trained super hard to run on a flat paved road,
Okay.
and then suddenly you're thrown onto a steep Rocky Mountain trail. You know how to run, but the environment is completely different. Your muscles aren't ready for it.
That's a great analogy. It really captures that feeling of being unprepared, even with years of study.
And it happens all the time. We heard about this one person studied English for like 10 years. Brilliant reader, great writer, aced all the tests.
Wow, okay. Sounds proficient.
Totally. But then they're traveling, go through customs, and the officer just asks, quite normally, any liquids in your bag?
Uh-huh. Simple question.
Simple question, but they just froze. Couldn't understand.
Because it sounded like,
Like one long word, liquids in your bag. They knew liquids in your bag, but strung together quickly like that.
it just didn't register.
Didn't register at all. And later they were thinking, why? Why didn't I get that? I know those words.
And the reason was,
They just never really practiced listening to that.
yeah.
To real, fast, connected speech. Textbooks teach going to, but life gives you gonna.
Or, I don't know, becomes, I don't know.
Exactly. Or, do you want to grab lunch?
Yeah.
Comes, want to grab lunch. Your brain hasn't had enough exposure to those natural shortened forms, so it struggles to decode them on the fly. It's a fundamental mismatch.
A fundamental mismatch. Okay. And you mentioned it's not just about speed and connected words, right? There are other layers too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Speed is a big one, but it's not the whole story. English has this stress and intonation pattern.
Yeah.
The music of the language, you could say.
Right. Some words get emphasized, others get swallowed.
Exactly. Important words stand out. Less important ones often get reduced. Sometimes sounds even disappear completely.
Like how we often say camera, more like camera.
Precisely. Or interesting becomes interesting. Native speakers do this constantly to be more efficient.
Makes sense. And then there are idioms and slang.
Huge factor. Things like hit the books. If you only learn that from reading, you might picture someone literally hitting books.
Yeah, you wouldn't know. It just means study hard.
Right. You haven't heard it used in context, haven't associated the sound with the meaning. So if you mostly learn by reading, you miss out on how all these things happen. The speed, the connections, the dropped sounds, the idioms actually sound in real conversation. That creates a huge gap.
Okay, so that paints a pretty clear picture of the challenge. But the good news is this isn't permanent, right? You can train your brain for this.
Absolutely, you
Yeah.
can. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. It just needs the right kind of practice.
So what are some practical steps? What can people start doing, like today?
Okay, first big one.
Mm-hmm.
Listen every single day. Consistency is crucial, not just cramming once a week.
Every day. Makes sense.
And listen actively. Don't just have it on in the background. Maybe pick podcasts, YouTube, Netflix,
Yeah.
whatever you actually enjoy. That helps with consistency.
You find something fun. Got it. What else?
Try a technique called shadowing.
Shadowing.
Yeah, you basically listen to something and try to speak along with it, mimicking the pronunciation, the rhythm, the intonation as closely as you can, almost simultaneously.
Ah, okay. So you're training your mouth and your ear at the same time.
Exactly. It feels a bit weird at first, maybe, but it's super effective for getting those natural patterns into your head and your speech.
Interesting. And should you just jump into like fast movies straight away?
Probably not the best idea. Start gradually. Maybe with TED Talks or podcasts made for learners. News reports often have clearer speech.
Slower, clearer content first.
Right. Then, as you get comfortable, move up to faster stuff like regular TV shows or movies. And don't be afraid to repeat. Watch the same scene, listen to the same clip multiple times.
You pick up more each time.
You really do. You
Yeah.
start noticing connections, words you missed before. Also, focus on learning chunks,
Chunks like,
like common word combinations. Instead of thinking going and to as separate words, learn to recognize gonna as one sound unit.
like whatcha or dunno. Treat them as single items.
Precisely. Your brain processes them much faster that way.
Oh.
And one more tip. Record yourself.
Ooh, okay. Listen back.
Yeah. Record yourself maybe reading a short text or doing a shadowing exercise, then compare it to the original speaker. It helps you hear where the differences are in your own pronunciation or rhythm.
So putting it all together, it sounds less like a listening problem and more like a practice problem or maybe an exposure problem.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's about giving your brain the right kind of practice and enough time to adapt to how English actually sounds when people speak it naturally.
Like how kids learn. They just listen for years.
Exactly. They spend ages just absorbing the sounds around them before they really start talking fluently. Adults can speed it up, for sure, but that consistent exposure and active practice is still key. Every bit helps train your ear.
Okay, that covers the sort of technical listening skills. But you mentioned earlier, sometimes the biggest barrier isn't the language itself, but something else.
Yeah. Often, beneath the surface of struggling with speed or slang, there's this other thing going on. An invisible enemy, you might say.
Which is fear.
Fear. Okay. Tell me more about that. Fear of what?
Well, it can be a lot of things. Fear of not understanding what someone says. Fear of saying something wrong, something stupid. Fear of people judging your accent or laughing if you make a mistake.
Yeah. Those sound familiar. Very relatable fears.
Totally normal. Even people learning their third or fourth language feel this stuff. It's
Yeah.
just human nature when you're putting yourself out there, you know.
So how does that fear actually stop someone? If they know the grammar, they know the words.
It can cause you to freeze up. Imagine you can read complex stuff right well, past all the exams.
Yeah.
But the moment you need to actually speak, your heart starts pounding, your mind goes blank.
The words just won't come out.
Exactly. And when that happens repeatedly, it's easy to get discouraged. You start thinking, maybe I'm just not cut out for this, or I'll never be fluent.
You start believing it's about talent or lack of it. Right. But it's almost never about talent. Language learning, like any skill, really, it's built on practice, patience, and, honestly, courage. The courage to try, even when you're scared.
So the advice isn't to wait until you magically feel confident before you speak?
Definitely not. That's a trap. You could wait forever. The confidence doesn't come first.
It comes from doing it.
Exactly. Confidence is built by speaking, by taking action. Think about Say, ordering coffee in English for the first time, your voice might shake, right?
Yeah, probably.
The second time, a bit less shaky. The third time, it starts feeling almost normal. That's not magic. That's the result of doing it, of gaining experience.
So fluency isn't this one big achievement. It's built up through lots of small actions.
Moment by moment.
Yeah.
Every single time you try shadowing, every time you repeat a phrase out loud, every yes, please, or thank you in a real situation, those are the building blocks. They seem small, but they add up.
Okay. And what about mistakes? We're often so afraid of making them.
Mistakes. Yeah, that's a big one. We need to kind of reframe how we think about them. Formal education often teaches us mistakes are bad, something to avoid.
Right. Red pen marks everywhere.
But in language learning, they're essential. Think about it. Native speakers make mistakes all the time. We stumble over words, use fillers like and forget things.
Yeah, we do. And we usually just laugh it off or correct ourselves.
Exactly. Mistakes don't mean you're stupid. They mean you're trying, you're learning. Each mistake is actually a tiny lesson. It shows you something, maybe a word you need to learn, a pronunciation to adjust, maybe even a simpler way to say what you meant.
So instead of avoiding them, we should almost welcome them, use them.
Use them, absolutely. See them as feedback, as stepping stones. Don't let the fear of mistakes paralyze you.
This really shifts the perspective. Learning English isn't just about rules and lists anymore.
Not at all. When you get down to it, it's about connection, isn't it? Connecting with other people, expressing who you are, maybe even discovering parts of yourself.
Yeah. And the real wins aren't necessarily the test scores.
No way. The real victories are those personal moments. Finally getting the lyrics to that song you love, actually laughing at a joke in a movie without needing the subtitles.
Or just having a simple, easy chat with someone new.
Exactly. Those moments of genuine understanding and connection. That feeling. No certificate can give you that. You feel it.
So the final word is keep going.
Absolutely. Don't stop. Don't give up. It might take time. It might feel slow sometimes. But every day you practice, every time you listen actively, every time you dare to speak, you are getting closer.
And maybe focus less on perfection.
Yes. Which leads to a final thought. It's something maybe to just mull over. Fluency isn't really about being perfect. It's about being brave. So think about that. What did being brave look like for you on your English journey today? What small act of courage can you take?